What's up, everybody? It's Quinton from Hunters of Light, and today we've got another presentation. This time we've got JOHAN GREYLING, who's going to be talking about coming at wildlife photography and bird photography from a slightly different angle, a different perspective. I think it's going to be interesting for people to to look at wildlife and bird photography from a different angle, because it's you kind of go to the game reserve and you get the shot and then you take hundreds of shots, whatever it is. You get back and you go, well, fantastic. What do I do now? And I think Johan we've chatted before, and I think there's going to be a pretty interesting angle. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Johan, maybe what you can start off by telling us is, well, first of all, welcome. And
hi, all the listeners.
Yeah, and maybe just tell us what you've been doing in the lockdown. I'm not sure what sort of work you've been able to do.
Well, Quentin, I think the lockdown has really hit all of us quite hard. My main thing is taking photographers on photography safaris. Now, obviously, I don't think that's going to happen for the next at least 4 or 5 months. So keeping myself busy doing Lightroom training on Zoom for people, sitting at home and helping the guys out, and do a little bit of mentorship. Because I find there's a lot of photographers out there who's got this camera, and they battle. The guys really battle, So yeah, that's the only way keeping myself busy instead of working on, everybody's nerves. But yeah.
I can't stop working on people's nerves. I'm always working on people's nerves. But anyway, that's a discussion that's completely separate. So yeah, I'll hand over to you. Let's take a look at what you've got.
Right, great, guys. Thanks a lot, and thanks for the opportunity to be here this afternoon and spend a little bit of time to the rest of the guys. And I actually want to start off with what I'm going to do today is to talk to you guys about doing my wildlife photography and doing it. I can't say different to the rest of the guys, but I like to really show guys an image or a story in the image and to provoke emotion in the image. So I find a lot of guys just go out and they take images, and you've got these thousands and hundreds of images, and there's really nothing to it. And looking at how I do it and I hope you guys can really find something out of it. Okay, so let's look at the normal photographer out in the street, old Johnny photographer. What happens? He buys his new camera, he buys his new lens, and he tells his wife it cost him 20,000 rand for this 100.
Sorry.
I think the guys can relate to this. And what do? They pack the 4x4 and off they head to Kakhalikhadi or Chobe or wherever they want to go. Right, so off they go. And I get there, everything is done. They got there, do his dop and chop for the night. And the next morning, 4 o'clock, he wakes up the whole camp, because 5 o'clock, he's in his car in front of the gate, because the gate opens at 6 o'clock, but he must be the first one out. So what happens? Here we go. Mom's in the car, the kids in the car, kids are packed. There's 120,000 rand lens, or 20,000 rand lens and camera, and off they go. And as they drive out, Johnny just goes, he's 60 on the road, gets to the first bend, and what happens? Becomes 80, 100 kilometers an hour. And suddenly that new BF Goodrich's new suspension works quite well. And what's the story? Johnny wants to see lions and leopard and the big five, and that's what everybody wants. We all want that nice cat shots. And we all know the waterholes. So what happens? Old Johnny comes to the first waterhole, there's nothing. Looks around, nothing. Okay, now on to the next waterhole. Now suddenly he becomes Janelle de Villiers. Now he's doing 120 in the park. And, speeds off to the next waterhole and such. But coming back after 2 or 3 waterholes, then he starts backtracking, because Johnny hasn't seen a thing so far. And as they come to the first waterhole, there's about 50 cars standing there. Yes, and old Johnny's looking for a spot. Where can I stop? And he picks up this camera, puts it on the Wimberley, puts it on his door, and now he's all over the show, trying to get the shot. This is the story. Take my camera. Now I'm going to shoot everything. What happens at the end of the day? He just started shooting away. Now, and I think this is one of the big problems that I've found with photographers. Firstly, he stopped. He went past everything in the morning. He didn't see a thing because he was going so fast. He asked his wife once, twice, did she see something every time when she wakes up after a bump? And she says, yeah, she saw a rhino in the tree, something like that. But anyway, now he sits there and he shoots and he shoots. And, you know, the nice thing is all these new cameras sounds like casino machines because they go grrr, grrr, you know, it's fantastic. And that sound is, I mean, it's really, and he's got 20 memory cards, so he can shoot away. And, you know, getting back to night at camp, he sits there, downloads his images, look at all these images, and his wife says, what can, he says, don't worry, I'll show you the nice ones, you know, but he's got about 1,000 images to work through because he's just shooting away. Half of them out of focus. There's bushes in front of him, bushes behind it, and you can hardly see what he was photographing. And then that night, you know, same old story, have his braai and dock and chop. Next morning goes out, forgot his camera batteries or memory cards. Things like that happen to people. But the story about this is, what is photography? What is wildlife photography different to other genres of photography? If we think about landscape photographers, when they go out also early in the morning because they want that first light. They set up the scene, they walk around, and they look at this angle, that angle, and they check angles. What's different to a portrait photographer? They go into the studios, set up lights, change the light from this side to that side, do a backlight, do this, do that. What do guys do with macro photography? Same thing. They set up and they spend hours to get the perfect shot. And I think in most instances, you know, we had guys on the show, if I can think of guys like Elrove yesterday, you know, talking about his experience, planning. If we look at the guys before him, you know, Andrew Averley, Daniel, guys like that, everybody will tell you, you know, I'm talking the guy who was photographing the rings. It's a setup. You've got to think about your photography. You can't just go there because I've got a long lens and a big camera. You can't just shoot away. I mean, come on, guys. What is wildlife photography? You've got to go out and the same thing. Get to your scene. Decide what you want to do. Write your scene. And I'm talking about write your scene because you stop. Firstly, where's my light coming from? Do I have good light? No. Am I going to shoot side light? Am I going to shoot backlighting? What am I going to do at the site? So think about your shots. Then take a first shot. And that's the way I do things. Look at that first shot. Look at your histogram in the camera and say, am I okay? Did I check my settings? Is my camera set correctly? Because Johnny, in his speed going, or was it Janelle? I can't remember, one of the two, but you know, the camera was bumping all over and suddenly this camera was on a simple setting off on manual or something like that. And he was shooting away and he never checked his shots. So no shots. And I think a lot of people can relate to what I'm trying to tell. And what I'm going to go through to you as we go along the whole presentation, I'm going to show you slides and how I get into the stories and just a little bit of looking and working the scene. So, and one of the things that I want to really stress to people, if you want to get into wildlife photography, guys, wildlife photography is just not, I have a camera and I can press a shutter and I can hear this wonderful 20 shots going off a second. This is not it. You've got to look at your scene. You've got to plan your scene. You've got to decide what you want to shoot. Do I have the right equipment for it? Do I change lenses? Do I change cameras? What do I do? Do I put a converter on? So there's a whole lot of things to think about, just instead of just go and shoot away and hope in that 100 or 1,000 shots, you'll get one. Chances is you'll get maybe one, maybe two, but I doubt it. You're really set for failure when you start working like that. So for me, it's like any other genre. Plan, and look. Okay, so, and I'm trying to also ask guys, when you go out, take your time, spend some time with somebody that can mentor you. Go with a wildlife photographer who's been in the industry for some time, who you can respect, trust his work, look at his work, and I can promise you, you will really bring your photography 20 years forward, because for 20 years, you'll go on like crazy. The other thing is, if you go out, people spend a lot of money to go on that trip. Now, if you go out there, spend your time well, plan what you want to do, plan what you want to shoot. And then when you get to a scene, work a scene. If you've got something to work with, really work the scene. So if I say work the scene, changing angles, looking for different light, going down, shooting eye level, things like that. So moving away, use a long lens to get that perspective of eye level. Okay, so those are the things that I think is there. The other thing that I want to do today as well is the images that I've prepared is not the exotic images of Masai Mara and Serengeti and all these wonderful places. Let us, after this lockdown, support our local guys, support our local.
Absolutely.
Guys, if you go out in safaris, don't get onto a vehicle where there's tourists, because you will never get that shot. Trust your guide that you're going with. He's got experience, he will put you in positions, and sometimes he's the guy that will really look, and he'll be your second eyes. So, you know, if you want to spend time in wildlife photography and do it properly, you got to do these things. Yes, is it more expensive? Yes, it's more expensive. You've got a guide. And after 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever, then if you feel comfortable, I'll tell you, you will not go at 120 kilometers an hour to a waterhole to go and photograph lions. That's not going to happen. So I'm just going to start off sharing some of my images with you guys, just to go. And there's old Johnny with the line. Now, what happens with lions? Quentin, can we see the screen?
Yeah, all good.
So yeah, the lions, 90% of the time, they are lying in and just sleeping. Okay, so people chase out to go and photograph these brown little anthills, and they will sit there for hours in this good morning light, good afternoon light, just to try a shot of the lion. So let's look at the next one. Oops, going too fast here. So what happens? This is old Johnny's shot. He got the line. You look at the background, total mess. Okay, we go to the next one. What's the best shot he will get? Maybe a yawn. And maybe a few lions sitting on a mound, but not really doing anything at this stage. And maybe a little bit of a landscape shot, lion walking away. Is it interesting images? I'm not so sure. Oh, this one, you know, he's doing his business for the morning. But there's nothing to the image. It's just another line. Look at this one, full of flies, walking. And if we also look at the perspective, shooting from high up, down, and this line just doesn't look good. This is a bit better image of the Kagali line. And you can see the light on it, it's okay, but he's just there. He's not doing a thing. This one, walking towards me, a much better shot. So if you can get shots like this, spend your time, do this. The first shots I will not do. Okay. If I shoot lines, this is what I want, action. I want a bit of action. And there's a bit more action in these shots. And what happens in the morning? Early mornings, the lions will play, and late afternoons. So in the middle of the day, guys, you're going to waste your time. These lions just going to lie, and that's it. So there's 1 or 2 more just of them playing. And guys, please feel free to ask me questions as we go along. And this is it. So for me, this is the type of shots, if I want to shoot lines, and that's it. There's obviously a difference. If I go out to a place like Sabi Sands and I want to shoot leopard, that's the place to go. If I want to go and shoot cheetahs hunting, there's only one place in the world that you can do that and get proper backgrounds, and that would be Serengeti. So for me, is choose where you want to go, choose what you want to do. So here's just a few more images of stories. Now look at this. Isn't this more storytelling than that first line lying in the bushes? Early morning, same thing, baboon drinking water. baboons playing around. And coming back to what I've said to you guys in the beginning, every story or every image must give me a story or give me some emotion and something that you can relate to. Now, I want you to also see from now on that all my images, I try and get down to eye level as far as possible. Okay, nice leopard. And I think some of these shots you guys may have seen, but just to give you what it was, this is the shot one, and I've just cropped in to bring it in quite close. Right, a little bit of grooming, early morning. Look at that fabulous light that we get. Now, you know,
early morning light is fantastic. Hey, it's just they're so nice and soft and warm. Ah, it's lovely.
It's beautiful. And again, you know, it's something almost you can feel, you can see those eyes. It gets into you. It gets into your soul. This is another one, little youngster sitting there. And I've just got this little bit of sunlight coming through from the side, and it just lights up that little baboon. And I think it's just a wonderful way of doing photography. So if I'm looking at those lines and just a few shots that we've looked at, and I'm talking about old Johnny photographer shots, I think what we've got here is something different. So what did I do? Planning. Guys, get down, look at your light, change your angles, move around, get different angles, use zoom in, zoom out. Okay.
Because that shot there that you're just showing us now,
Yes.
you know, if you went more to the right, then the baboon will be more backlit, you know, and you'd have that bit of a silhouette with a line around it, and that's two completely different shots in one scenario. But you've got to move around and find those shots.
You've got to, and again, something that I say to people is, you know, when you go out there, guys, when you get to a scene, again, shoot your image, look at your histogram of the camera, and I'll just repeat a few of these things. Make sure that your light's good. Make sure that you don't, because in an image like this, you can very easily burn your highlights very quickly. So look at your histogram. Then, as you say, move around. Try and change your position. Move a little bit to the right or a little bit to the left, and just see what type of light you get on this. And this comes back to the genres of photography, planning or setting up your stage, because this is my stage. Setting up my model. I can't tell my model to move, so it's a bit more difficult than normal human photography. But the other thing of wildlife photography also, and that's part of my philosophy of photography, is that if you shoot wildlife photography, that image that you shoot is a time or a moment in time that you can never replace again. Never. Okay, so make the best of it. So yes, there's instances where something just happens, and I'll come to that later. This image was quite an interesting one. This image won me quite a few awards.
Sorry, Johan. Just I've got a request just to move your mouse off the center of the screen there.
Sorry, guys.
That's all right. That's all right.
Okay, this was a shot in Etosha at a waterhole called Kalkjevel, and all the white spots that you see at the back, if people who knows Kalkjevel in Etosha, it's just white rocks. We sat there, and there was a group of photographers that has been there before me, and everybody was trying to get the scabbers, going for these quellias. And people was battling, and I sat there, and it took me about 3 days to look at and really anticipate or to learn the behavior of these gabbers. Now, the only way I could really get the shot, because it happened so quickly, these gabbers go and sit on the ground. It looks like a shade spot. The quellias will come in to drink water, and what they will do is they'll jump up and grab the birds in flight. And the only way that I could see that happening is that the head of the gabber would just start moving like this. And that, to me, is how it measures the distance. And obviously that time, that's when my shutter works overtime. I mean, I burned that shutter like you could not believe. But the story behind this was, I had a group of tourists from overseas with me. And while we were sitting there looking at this gabber, there was lions at the waterhole. And the same story. These lions were lying there for probably half an hour. And at that moment, the lions, one of the males stood up. And everybody, you can imagine what happens. All the cameras turns to the lions. And I was the only one getting the shot. Lucky, yes, because, I mean, it happened so quickly. But the moment when I pressed that shutter, I knew I had something. And I couldn't wait to download this image. But yes, so again, you know, one of our guys that was on the show, one of my friends, old Clint Ralph, told you guys patience, persistence, and passion, or whatever. And it's the persistence sitting there, or the patience, and really studying your wildlife and study behavior. And that gives you images like this. This you just won't get. Normally, forget it, guys. Just shooting away, you will never get this image. So yes, planning. This, again, little fish eagle sitting on the Chobe River. I saw this fish eagle coming down one morning, and he was circling. We went down, sit next to the river, and I moved into position. And I must also just tell you guys, I don't believe in baiting. This is not a baited shot. That's one of the things I don't do. I don't bait, and I don't throw out anything to get any images. And the next thing, this fish eagle was sitting on the ground, not coming from a tree branch or anything, on the ground. And he hits this catfish. And that's the shot. I framed it a little bit different. I've got full wings on it, but just to bring the action into the picture, and I'll use my mouse now. You can see this is my action around, and this is the shot. The next one, again, two pied kingfishers. This male on the right-hand side just giving a fish to the female. And we'll come to later stories why they do this, but just to give you guys a little bit of insight of what I do. Chicanas, very, very low. So again, sitting on a boat, and I'm trying to get distance a little bit. So using a long lens, getting away, moving back, and that gives me this perspective of shooting almost at eye level. Okay, clean backgrounds, very important in images. So look at your images, clean backgrounds, clean foregrounds. Same, another type of shot. Chicana flying off. Chicana running, look at those beautiful toes. Okay.
It always just looks so out of proportion. You know, you got those feet that are just about as long as its legs.
Yeah. The other thing is to what's quite interesting with photographing, when you do photograph in places like this, is the perspective again. So shooting high up will give you a much bluer water because of the reflections. Shooting lower down obviously gives you more storytelling images, or brings you right into the story. And that's what I like to do. And you'll see a lot of my images is sort of in your face images, giving you different. Yes, if I shoot landscape, a different story, but this is sort of in your face images. Now, if you don't know a jacana, it's about the size of a glass, so it's not a very big bird. Also, something very interesting.
Sorry, Johan, just a quick question before you get into this one. Chris Vessels wants to know what you use for for the birds in flight and that sort of thing. What you set your focal point to for this kind of shot.
Chris, okay, good, nice question. Coming back to Johnny Photographer, not setting your camera, not knowing your camera. And I think that's one of the things, very important question is, before you go out, learn your camera, know your focusing points in your camera and how to use them. So if I would shoot birds on the ground or birds in bushes or where I've got a busy background, I would obviously shoot with matrix metering, and I'll use 72 or 52 focusing points to shoot my bird. I've got a button set up on my camera specifically that if that bird flies up into the sky, I immediately hit that button and I'll go to full autofocus mode, meaning the camera will focus on the closest subject, and the closest subject is only the bird. Okay, saying that is be aware that your f-stop obviously can be a bit of a factor, because if that focus point hits the tip of the wing and it's a big bird, you're going to have a problem that the face or the eyes are sharp. Okay, but that's what I would do is use autofocus mode.
Cool.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, this is just, again, as you can see, something low down, something that happened. Keep your eyes open. This is quite an interesting thing where a crocodile actually attacked another crocodile, split him, and you can see 1 or 2 images of that. So I think it's just, again, the story that I'm trying to tell of the cannibalism of crocodiles. This was shot in Etosha, clean background. That was at number 20 or Andoni Flats. One of the best places to really shoot zebra. Short grass, yellow grass. You've got that blue or yellow and blue. So it just gives you that very nice background in the images. Bit of dust, which gives me movement. This again, nice elephant shot coming in. Look at the eye.
It's lovely detail in that, hey? Oh, that's beautiful.
I think it's, you know, and again, you know, if you start learning animals, or if you look at the behavior of animals, and that's also quite important to get the right shots, is that 99% of the time, when you take images of elephants, you'll never see the eye, because the eye is always half closed. In this case, you can actually see the eye. On the next image, it's the same thing. We see the eye. So just little stories, guys, come out. Now, this is quite interesting. You see, this is a little Jacana chick. Now, this little chick, this image, that chick is smaller than a matchbox. So that whole image, that chick is smaller than a matchbox. Again, getting as low as possible to get this image. If I was shooting from high up, down, it's just not the same. So I'm trying to get down, get to eye level as far as possible, and shoot the image like this. This again, shooting right into his mouth, chewing grass. So good light, going into the image. And again, guys, what we'll talk about a little bit later is cropping. If I shoot an image, I would crop my image to give me what I want. This is just another little one, and I think it's just the mood. You know, for me, just lying with his head on top of the other one, it's just a nice image. Nice clean background, mother and baby. What I think a powerful image with this huge mother. And I think there's a lot of, sorry, females or males going to look like this after lockdown. But
I have to agree with that.
I've already got my 5Ks up. So, but again, very much eye level. And this is coming back to choosing destinations. Guys, when you go out and spend money on photography, spend your money in areas where you can really get the shots. Yes, this was also again shot in Joburg, but look at the background, look at the foreground. This is just amazing. Black Heron, look at this beautiful shot with the water and the greens. And I just shot this at the very slow shutter speeds. And you can see the movement. We get a bit of wind today, and you can see I've almost got, it looks like a photoshopped effect of, and it's not. Now, the nice thing about this is getting images like this. Look at the black and white in this. Amazing. I mean, and it's the same shot. So it's just doing something else in wildlife photography. You will see, you know, a lot of people will say to me, well, why didn't you take out this piece of grass? No, I don't. I shoot and that's it. I will take out dust spots of the camera and that's it. This is shot in.
Just a quick question. I've actually got 3 that I can ask you now. First off, how many images do you bring back after your photo session?
Interesting one. I always say to guys, if you can go out and if you can get one good image a day, you will come back with 5 good images after a week. And of that 5 images, if you can have 1 exceptional image, you had a very successful trip. But to get to those images, yes, depends on location, obviously, and depends how much you must drive to get to what you want to photograph. But I try to sit back when I get to a scene. I will shoot my 1 or 2 or 3 images, fill my little bucket, and then I will sit and observe. And observe and observe and observe. Why? Because I can see what the animals is doing. And because if you look through the camera, you've got tunnel vision. And just observe. And, you know, with these guinea fowls, as an example, guinea fowls normally, when you get to water, when they come to drink, that's when they start playing and fighting and jumping and going crazy. And I've moved back and I've changed my vehicle position in such a way that I can get this clean background, but also moving back to get this eye level of the shot. So yes, other guys Johnny would have sat there and he would have taken 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 images, and we would have then gone on and say, that's it. This is another one. So moving your position, looking at your animals, study their behavior, know what they can do, will give you images like this. Sitting, talking about backlight. Now this is one of those images. Guys, if you don't know your cameras, and if you don't set up your camera for action, and I'll say this is quite important, I just heard this commotion and I turned around because I was shooting right on the other side, and these 2 baboons were chasing each other. And as I turned around, this one was coming, running at full speed, jumping over this log. And yeah, pity that log is there, but this image that I get with that sort of backlight and also a bit of sight light, that golden light, just gives me this type of image. Again, if you can see at my level, eye level, his eye level. Sitting at the waterhole in Etosha again. These little young giraffes standing there, and I was sitting and people were shooting some birds on I think it was a shoot up. Sorry guys, I've got a little bit of a sinus. So, and the next thing, this little giraffe starts playing, and I can't tell you more than this is the shot. So again with Etosha, the big problem with Etosha is all the white rocks. But I think, you know, if you look at the image, the rocks doesn't bother me. There's a story to tell in this image. There's just one more where he's playing around. And now we're getting to a bit more stories. Sitting again on a river, and I can't remember what we were photographing. And the next thing, my eye just caught these birds coming down, and the fish eagles start coming in. And I just saw this movement in the water. And I said to my guide, let's go. We went there, and as I got there, now this image is not 100% sharp, but just to tell the story, I was there in time where this crocodile snatched this catfish in half. Okay, what happens next? Look at this image. And I only saw this after the event. This other half of the catfish, the crocodile picked up, and look at this. He was catching a catfish that was catching another fish.
That's fantastic.
I mean, you know, it's again, so if I say to you, moving there and make sure that your camera settings are right, make sure that when you get these type of things, you don't have time to look at your camera settings. You got to know your camera. You got to know your settings. You got to go and make sure that you set up speed on your camera. You got to have the right f-stops. And this is it. So there's quite a few of these images that I've shot, but this is just a few to show you guys that it's not a photoshopped image, because I've posted this before and one guy came and said, yeah, you know, people will say this was Photoshop. So no, it's not. This is the real thing.
Johan, just a question with all of those. Obviously, you know, you're shooting that, you know, with as many frames per second as you can manage. And I'm going to ask two questions in one here. First off, Anne wants to know what lens you shoot most of your images with, but with your camera body, what is the buffer on that? How many shots can you take before it fills up?
Well, if I go back, it depends on what you've got. Okay, if I go back to this, I've shot this with a Nikon D810. I'm a Nikon user, and I've lately changed to Sony for a few reasons. But, you know, this is, I think it's a very important question. And yes, because especially I found that with people shooting birds, that a bird starts flying, and let's use the example of a fish eagle flies up and he's got something, but he's about 500 meters away from you. And now he starts flying towards you, and people start shooting from the beginning. And when that bird's 200 meters from you, suddenly your buffer falls. Okay, and there you start losing all the shots. My experience is, guys, get that bird, and when you're ready, shoot in little bursts. Shoot in bursts and make sure that you don't fill your buffer. Now, lately, new cameras can give you 200 plus shots in buffer. So that's fantastic. But I can tell you, if you've got action like this, 200 shots is nothing. You shoot it. Sony A9 that I'm using now, giving me 20 frames a second. I mean, you can work it out. How many shots do you shoot to fill 200? It's 10 seconds and you shot, your buffer is full.
Absolutely.
And then you got to wait for that buffer to clear, and you miss all the action. So yeah, it's quite an important question to not just shoot away, and I'm coming back to that old thing. Think of what you do. You can't just go because you can shoot, or you can hear that shutter going off and that nice sound. Rather shoot in bursts. Look at what you want to shoot and plan your shooting as you go. So when your bird flies up, shoot at the right moment, or shoot in short bursts that you don't fill up your buffer. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's cool. And then just on the length of the lens that you're using for most of your work.
I used to work, and most of these images that you see now so far, and I will mention the ones that wasn't shoot with a 600 millimeter prime lens. I used to have a 600 millimeter prime lens, and being a photographic guide, I found it quite cumbersome because I'm walking between guys on a boat, or I'm driving a vehicle, and by the time I have to put my big lens on, I've missed everything. Okay, and I've changed to shorter lenses, and it's not because of specifics, but I've changed, and I'm going to mention the name, a Tamron 150-600, which is quite a cheap lens, very cheap lens, compared to what a prime lens.
Absolutely, compared to those, yeah.
Started off shooting with that, and I think I was probably one of the first guys in South Africa going that way. People used to come to me and say, are you shooting with your toy lens or your plastic lens? And I said, that's it. But all of these images that you see now is mainly shot with that lens. The reason is I can zoom in and I can zoom back. Okay, I can shoot 600 millimeter. There is ways, and I will do a talk about that later, Quentin, and I think that's something we can do is because a lot of people come and say, but I've got soft images. And people forget that their shutter speeds are not high enough when they shoot images like this, or with long zoom lenses because they're handheld, and we'll get into that on a later stage. But yes, mostly I'm shooting with 150-600 because it gives me different angles. I can zoom in, I can zoom out. So that's what I'm using currently. Also on the Sony, I've changed to the 200-600 zoom lens, which is the internal focal or focusing lens. So that's what I'm using. So this was shot with a 200-400 old Nikon lens. This is probably 9 years ago. Again, going on a river, coming around the bend, and suddenly, here's the images. This is a forever battle on the Chobe River between your Goliaths and your fish eagles. And I was just ready to shoot these images. Some of the guys that was with me at that stage had 600 millimeter lenses, and they couldn't shoot the full sequence. Does it matter? We'll come to it later. I don't think so. Again, on the Chobe River, I saw this little jacana after shooting other jacanas, the ones that you saw earlier with the blue water. And this one, I just saw picking up a fish, throwing it on the leaf, and you can see the little fish lying there. And look what's happening. Picks it up, and now I'm coming in, talking about cropping into my images, telling you the story. Picks up the little fish. And yeah, that's just the stories. So for me, stories. Fish eagles again. I love my fish eagles. This guys were sitting on the water bank. We were shooting impala jumping, and suddenly my guide told me, look at that fish eagle. And I just see this fish eagle, the wings going up, 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 up. Got there, and he was pulling this catfish out. And now you can see pulling it in, pulling it out, starting to eat. And suddenly he's trying to move it. And now you can see in the background, very slightly, you'll see an elephant there somewhere, another impala. And what happens? He keeps on pulling it, but he's giving us those beautiful wings. Back to eating, and suddenly he's flying away. Suddenly. Why? Guys, look at the right-hand corner of the screen. Here comes the water monitor. So he was trying to move the fish. Obviously, the fish was too heavy. And now another shot. And the monitor is getting closer. Another shot. And he says, I've got to make a plan. And the next thing he says, that's it, I'm bailing out. And you can see this monitor is now really coming with the speed to take this fish. And off this guy goes, and look at the expression on the face of this fish eagle. You can see he's not a happy boy. So here's the guy with his prize. He's got his fish. And you would not believe these monitors has got such a sense of smell. They can smell any rotten things for miles. Again, another trip. Look at this beautiful light we got this morning. This is as shot out of camera, not cropped, not edited. So this is the light. Beautiful. Got this fish eagle, again eating a piece of scrap. Beautiful light. Look at that. So getting in low, and I'll show you images that I've cropped in. So now you can see the difference of going into your image. And I always say to people, tell me the story, bring me into the story. And this is it. This is how I would present my images. Again, out of camera, same there. So I've just done this, and look at this. So here comes this great egret, and the fish eagle just gives him a look, and the egret says, okay, forget about it. I'm not going to even try it. And suddenly this fish eagle gets agitated again. Look at the wings. Same old story, guys. Look at what's happening. Here on the left comes the little water monitor, and you can see this fish eagle bails.
He looks upset, stomping away there. Eh?
Okay, so taking his fish. Again, look at him. Look at that look. Now that to me is telling a story of nature, and not just shooting the fish eagle, but telling a little bit of a story. Getting onto the river again. Shooting this little malachite kingfisher. Now again, guys, this is small little birds, fast as hell. Got to this, and as we were sitting there, I saw there's another one, and they're going into the riverbank, obviously nesting. And I said to my guy, this afternoon, I'm going back there. I'm going to work these guys. I'm going to work the scene. So what happens, I get there, and I shot another shot of this, and as you can see, background's not too good. And the next thing, yeah, here comes the male. And he gives the female a little fish. Fantastic. Right, why? And if you remember, one of the first images was pied kingfishers also giving a fish to the female. And this is to give them mating rights. This is, they've got to prove themselves to say, I'm worthy of you. So you can see us swallowing the little fish. And he's just sitting there quite excited. And then she says to him, okay, you can go, boy. Now, remember, guys, this is this big. This is like really small. Okay. And he's doing his thing. And the next thing she chases, come on, go and get more fish. Off you go.
That's right? So cool.
And he comes back, he gives the fish. And these are just a few shots later of that scene. Okay, so working the scene, waiting for things to happen, go back to the same thing, planning your shots. This was just, again, just a dead buffalo. Found it this one morning. We got the vultures on it, opening it up. And here they sit. And we just got the scene of 2-3 days later going back. You can see now there's no more buffalo. And little things that's happening around that. So working the scene. Okay. So I'm just going to speed up a little bit to get through the presentation. I think time is going to catch up on us a little bit. And this guy was saying, wow, got my meal. Okay. And this was sort of the end of the buffalo. So again, a whole little story in a story. Sitting at Shirap Waterhole this one morning, and I just got that zoom lens. And suddenly, out of nowhere, comes these black-faced impalas, locking horns. And you can see this is off shot, this is, I think, 250 millimeters. And instead of having a long zoom lens or trying to reach down, find another camera with a shorter lens, this happens like in split seconds. Okay. You can see how this impala pulls this guy over the rock. Here, there's a rock on this side. Pulls him right over the rock and eventually getting shots like this.
That's an incredible sequence.
It's you know, it's just the stories. Now, this is interesting. I want to talk about the shot. This image, and I think some of the listeners can quickly guess this, how many pixels this image was shot. But I'm not going to, because time is a little bit on our side. I shot this with a Nikon D2HS. It was one of their first, or not really first, the second generation of digital cameras. It has got a 4.1 million pixel camera. This is 4.1 million pixels that you see. So people always ask, how big? Must I go 48, 60 million pixels? What, guys? This is 4 million pixels. Yes, the camera could shoot at 8 frames a second, which was nice. And at that stage, 17 years ago, this is how long this image was shot. That camera cost a cool 26,000 Rand. Okay, then, not then. Right. This is just, again, using dust, mood in the image, tail flicking up, dust in the run, the legs up from the ground. I've done these lines. And look at this, again, side light. And I've shot this also side light. Now, why did I do this? And I shot this specifically, and I quickly want to change to another screen, is to show you guys, sorry, Quentin.
Right.
Just to show you guys what you can do with this shot. I just want to get into this screen. There we go. And I'm going into Lightroom just to show you guys what happens if we change this into a monochrome image. Look at that. Okay, look at that. And we go, and I'm just changing it straight into a grayscale. So I'm not even working the image. So when you shoot images and you get light like this is super images to use for black and white. So getting back to our story, and I just want to get back to my stories here and do full screen here quickly. Come on, play with me. There we go. Shooting lines, using background, using mood light to get these images. And
Johan, it's still in that grid view.
Is it still in the grid view?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, guys.
That's all right.
Let me just go stop sharing. And let's go back. Are we now on the full screen?
No, now it's not shared. So you just need to share your machine again or your screen again.
Okay, let me just get into this. Sorry, man. This is
that's fine.
Makes it so difficult. Yeah, it seems I have to actually go into opening up the program to actually share it again. So
there we go.
These questions in the meantime, guys, I would like you to just ask a few questions.
Yeah, I've got a few. I'm just wondering if how much longer have you got on your slides?
Not too long.
Okay, because there's a couple here. I've put them as a side note here. Someone wanted to know, when you say high shutter speed, what speeds do you shoot at? And I suppose that depends really on what the subject is, but maybe just give us an indication for, you know, if there's some wildlife moving and birds.
Okay, I work purely on the fact that I shoot minimum of 3 times my focal length that I'm using, and I'm trying to shoot at least 5 times. So I would shoot anything if I'm shooting 600 millimeter, nothing less than 1,800ths of a second, and up to 8,000ths of a second. That is what I'll do. This is just, have you got the full screen out, Quentin?
No, it's not yet. So just see if you can maximize that one.
Sure. Are you still on the grid screen?
Yeah, still the grid.
My goodness. Let me just try again here and see if I can get into it. Full screen now?
Not yet.
Let me just quickly go out and
then I'll ask you another question. So John Lincourt was asking, so I see you've got a lot of you know, great blur in your backgrounds. Are you getting that at f6 with your Tamron, or are these shot with a 600 prime?
No, as I said before, is that most of these images were shot. I'm actually going to carry on with, can you see this is a full screen?
No, you need to share your screen, because I see your beautiful face there, but not your screen.
My beautiful face, my goodness.
That only a mother could love.
Let's try on this one. Can you see this?
Yeah, there we go. That's bigger. Yeah, that's bigger.
Right. So this is just different things. Okay, coming back to the question, is I shoot with most of my lenses is I'm shooting f5.6, f6.3, and it depending on how far you're away from your subject. So, but yes, I'm trying to shoot wide open as much as I can without trying to cut or blur my image. Okay, just coming back to some of the lines. This is just one little line shot, and I'm just going to go through these now quite quickly. Taking an Etosha using backlight.
Love that dust coming off them, hey? Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, sitting there this morning, again, one morning, going into a waterhole and just looking what's happening. And this is when I will shoot lines. Okay, but otherwise, guys, forget about Johnny. Right, next shot is just the elephant. Nice in the river, but I've shot this specifically to do this type of crop. Same image, but to come in and do this. So I've shot the image quite full to do this. This just turning the image the other way. So if you can imagine, you're hanging 2 pictures side to side, one looking left, one looking right. And again, doing it the black and white. And I think this is the same here. I've done this image. You can see I've got this little dipkop in the way, or figny, and just cropping. And it's just giving me a little story of this elephant. A little bit of zoom, burst, and now I'm just going to go up. Little elephants doing something different, mating in the water, quite a bad background, and I'll just turn it into something like this. The next image, same story. It's just another elephant in the water, turned it into another look. And sorry, this is Lightroom. It's going to take a little bit to load. And that's why I've loved to work with Photo Mechanic. A buffalo, same thing, trying to change the mood. And it's just giving me a different look. Okay, so I'm going up. These baboons, look at this. I've shoot these baboons and look at the messy backside. Now, look what happens when I crop into my image. Okay, go on to the next shot. Same thing. And look at this.
There's fantastic emotion in that, eh? Wow.
But look at the shot before.
Yeah.
I mean, that shot. So by cropping and coming in and having this guy as the ref looking onto this photo and cutting out this out of focus baboons, the back, just cutting in and look at that. And the next image, it's the same thing, of the same sequence, quite messy, but coming in and giving me this. And suddenly I've got that attention on the eyes, the face. So it's telling me quite a powerful story. And I think the last one of this is, this is the original image, and this is after cropping. Okay. This is something, working the scene. So here we're coming down the river. I've got this lapwing, white-crowned lapwing, and people was quite upset because we've got to go and shoot lines. And I said, guys, let's just work the scene, because to get this lapwing on a branch like this is just not on. Okay, so what happens? Sitting there for a while, shooting this image, quite nice. It's a beautiful, clean image of this lapwing, but I've got quite a bright spot here. And I said, okay, let's wait. Lapwing turns around, much better. I've got the bright spot there, but suddenly I can see he's got his black toenails, and I can see the little spur coming out the side here. And the guy said, okay, let's go do lines. And I said, guys, let's wait. Let's do one more. And look what's happening. Suddenly he's stretching, and now I've got an even better image. So don't you think, if I go back, this was good, but I think this is better, this is much better. So now let's go and shoot the lines. And I said, no, I'm not happy. I'm waiting. So look what's happening now. Isn't that just gorgeous?
Lovely.
Gorgeous. Now working the scene, look at the spurs at the top, look at the wattles. And yeah, we sat. And I said, guys, this is it. Work the scene. The next thing, look at this, turning it into black and white. Beautiful images. And so, okay, now we go and shoot the lines. And I says, no, one more. And this is one more. So working the scene, working the scene, working the scene, because these little lapwings are normally close to the water, in the bushes, in the grasses. And yeah, we had it on that tree stump. And I've just got all these amazing shots working with it, doing it, turning it into a black and white again. And that's it. So I'm just going to go. Sitting on the river one morning, heard a fight of hippos fighting for females. And this is just a few shots coming through this. Changing lenses. I'm really now taking my crop sensor camera. I'm putting 600 millimeter onto it, my 150-600. And now I'm shooting 900 millimeters, getting into the action. Now, this might be a bit gory for some guys because we see some blood, but what I like, look at this image. Can you see this eye looking down? Yes, the other one looking down, but look at the fight, the blood that's going on. There's another one.
Sure.
Okay, now, for me, the feeling is I'm right in this fight. And just one more look at this.
Sure, those all blood droplets there, hey?
All blood going. Just a little buffalo crossing that I'm photographing and just showing the guys working the scene. So shooting low down again with all the flies. I'm shooting slow shutter speed again because I've got quite a few other images. Just get this movement as he was trying to shake the flies. And going to the next shot, look at this eyes. These eyes, you can see the fear in the eyes for crocodiles. But was this the shots that I was looking for? No. I really wanted a shot where I can get one. This guy came at the end. And I said, I'm changing position because the shot that I want out of this was this one.
Yes.
Now you can.
He's definitely looking down at to see where those crocs are coming from, eh?
And you can see the drama. It's almost the drama in the image. Just now, I'm just going to go through a few images, guys, because I think time is almost up. Just to go through, just working into the images. Little elephant trunk.
Oh, lovely.
Crocodile, and this I've shot at f/16, and you can see I still couldn't get the whole crocodile shot. Okay. Just yellow bull stork taking a bath, and you can see I'm almost lower than the yellow bull stork. Fish eagle just hitting the water, missed the fish. This guy taking up a big catfish. Roller coming into land, And you can see this, you can't see with your eye, you only see it afterwards. Just having a little cricket or something. Baboons again, just playing, just a little storytelling image. This one was chasing the other one. So, little baby. And you can see I've shot this image. I didn't shoot the whole group. I went and I looked, and what made this image is just this little bit of green in the image that's making the image. Okay, elephant, little baby, just behind the legs of the mother.
Love that.
Now the Goliath heron taking a bath. Marabou giving a type of shell to the youngster. This is, again, just on the buffalo back, one of these oxpeckers. And you can see on the side, you see the little fly. I didn't take out the fly. I believe in leaving things as it is. The baboon pulling the tail of the other one, and look at him afterwards, go sulking. Okay. Well, it's just a few black and white images.
Oh, that's lovely.
This is shooting landscape. Okay, so now I'm shooting different. So now I would not shoot the 600mm. I would probably shoot, and I think I've shot this with a 24mm lens. Okay, so it's just something, how you want to do. Just another shot of the baboon, one of the lion, and here's another sort of landscape shot where I've got this, it's the color image, but just that ray of light that came through that morning, those long tusks, just gives me this. So yes, will I always shoot with a 600? Will I always shoot with? No. But I think for me, and the story is, think about your photography, go out, don't just go and shoot and hope you'll get images. Guys, this is like any other genre in photography. You've got to think, you've got to plan, you've got to know what you want to photograph, and then you go for the shots. And these are just to end off. I don't know how much time we've got left, but these are just the end of it. And I think, yeah, that's it. Shooting in long grass, that's it. It just gives me that soft image. And Quentin, that's it.
That's
from
fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
I appreciate sitting here with you guys. And I think, you know, in future, I will talk about using different lenses, using the right f-stops, but important is, guys, learn your cameras, learn your equipment, and don't just go like Johnny, rushing off the thing, pass everything next to the road, because there's these small things on that we can shoot. And, you know, at the end of the day, with this COVID thing, really, guys, I want you guys to think about the guides that's out there that can help you. Support us, support the local parks. We don't have to go to these exotic places.
No, absolutely. I think it's a very good point. You know, a lot of the local guys are taking, well, I suppose everyone is taking strain at the moment. And I think it would be a great thought to, you know, to support the local industries, because we've got some fantastic parks. There was a question from John. Again, just we're talking about the f-stops, etc. But for the early morning shots, shooting that fast with your shutter speed, etc., your ISO is obviously going to be really high. What are you averaging for your ISO early morning shots? You know, with the high shutter speed for the lens, etc.
Okay, I think that's another. I think that must be a tutorial, because that's a question I'm getting asked a lot. And I know there's a lot of talk about this in the industry, but just to make it very quickly, for every one f-stop that you underexpose in your camera, you basically double your shutter speed without raising your ISO. So if I'm shooting at ISO 800, which is sort of a base ISO that I use, instead of shooting at 1600 ISO and then start picking up a lot of noise, I would go and underexpose by -1. And I will still have my shutter speed that I then want, but I have not raised my ISO. If I want to shoot at 3,200ths of a second, for instance, and I'm sitting in the 1600, I will go to -2. because cameras has got lately, it's got an invariable sensor. And just by coming back in your software and taking that underexposed image, yes, on the back of the camera, it's not going to look nice. But bringing it into your Lightroom or Photoshop and then go +1 or +2 on your exposure slider, your problem's fixed. So,
I think that's the important thing about also knowing your equipment and how far you can push it. You know, the older cameras, you know, if you try to do that, you'd suffer. But certainly the newer ones, you can certainly pull back quite a lot and raise, you know, the exposure quite a lot as well, especially if you're shooting in RAW, obviously.
You have to shoot in RAW.
Yeah.
That's one of the things, guys. You've got to shoot in RAW. If you remember that first that shot that I shot with the D2HS, the Impalas or the Springbok in the orange dust early morning, that 4 million pixel shot, that was shot 17 years or 12, 13 years ago at -1.3. Okay, so, and there was no noise in that image. Software nowadays helps us a lot. Okay, yes, I must agree. But at that time when I shot the image, it didn't look like it's looking today. Okay, so I'm reworking images as well. But yes, you don't have to worry. There is limitations to certain cameras, and that depends on the dynamic range of the cameras. But I found generally that most cameras today can handle up to -3.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. A question from Roger Machin, obviously a Canon guy. He wants to know, did you choose the D8 series camera so that you can shoot at a higher resolution and crop in without losing a lot of detail?
No. I just grew up with my dad having a Nikon, and it just progresses that I was into Nikon, and I've now gone, as I say, to a different brand. But no. Yes, shooting at a higher pixel rate, or shooting, you know, the D850s today, or the Canons, I think it's a D5s or whatever you guys have got, those 60 or 40 million pixel cameras, it allows you to crop much more. Yes, for sure. You know, but is it the end of? I don't say you go and buy one of those cameras. You can go and shoot. A lot of these images that I've showed you today was actually, there's quite a few in there that was shot with a little consumer camera, a Nikon D7100. That's a camera that, if you hit 4 frames a second, that's your buffer is full. One at 4 million pixels. So no, it's how you use your equipment, how you know to use your equipment, and I think that's quite important. You've got to know how to use your equipment. It's to buy a big fancy camera and have a big fancy lens, or just to have the latest and best. It's not going to give you the latest and best photographs. It's a failure. Forget it. There's no success in it. If you don't know your camera, if you don't know your equipment, if you don't know the principles of photography, and I think that is in all photography. That's it. I mean, you know, it's so. I'm coming back to what I said in the beginning. Get yourself a mentor. Do a bit of mentorship with somebody that you can trust. Learn how to edit and how to edit properly, how to use editing properly to enhance or to give you the image that you want, because it's all a combination of things. It's just not having a good camera and I'm going to get a good shot. That's not going to happen. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that's probably the, you know, those are the points to take out of it. You know, make sure that you know your equipment. And the same goes for every bit of photography. You know, if you want to assist someone on a commercial side of things, you know, spend a couple of months, couple of years assisting fantastic photographers. You know, you're going to learn the skills, get to know your craft and improve it. And at the end of the day, that's what it is. And planning and preparation, as you were saying, I think it's extremely important. So I think you've given us some fantastic points. I really appreciate it. I know that when you go back and you read through the comments, you'll see people loved your enthusiasm and your energy. And man, it's just, I love it. It's so inspiring. It's kind of you know, made me feel good inside, and I think everyone has felt the same thing. So thank you very, very much for coming on board. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I can just, again, for the work that you guys have you specifically put in, and I don't know if you've got a team of people or your wife helping you, but the amount of work that you guys are putting onto the site, and I would really want more people to join the site. Guys, this is fantastic. If you look at the talks, now I can't wait for tomorrow's talk. I must tell you, looking at, I think it's the spiders and looking at macro photography.
Oh, that's on Monday. Desiree Pelser. Yeah, no, me too. I can't wait.
So again, you know, I've learned so much out of these talks that you guys are doing and the little presentations. And I'm not too old, and I'm an old bugger, but I'm not too old to learn. So, and this is one other thing, the last thing I want to say is don't think you're too old to learn. You will learn every day.
Absolutely. And I mean, one of the reasons why I started this whole initiative is because I knew that people would be struggling, you know, lockdown and lack of work, etc. And the thought was to inspire people. But I think there was a bit of a selfish element as well. I'm gonna claim that selfish element now. I have every single one of the presentations. I got goosebumps just thinking about it. Every single one of the presentations that we've had, I have absolutely loved. I've been inspired, and then I've gone, oh man, my work is crap. And then I've been inspired, and then I've gone, oh, my work is crap. And it's fantastic. I just hope that everyone that's watching these is getting as much as I'm getting out of it, because if they are, then sure, job done.
This is unreal. And again, thank you so much. And for all the listeners, guys, I'll look at the comments afterwards. You're welcome to give me a call. You're welcome to drop me mails. I'm there to assist you. And if there's anything, I mean, you know, we're such a small community.
Yeah.
After each other. So, yeah, Quinton, great job. Thank you.
Cool, man. It's a pleasure. Have a good afternoon, hey?
To the listeners, have a good one. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye.